Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Topical Talkology. And we've been away for a couple of weeks because Theo decided something at the last minute that he was off to Crete, and good for him.
And the weather in October was wonderful because it wasn't too hot, but it was still warm enough to be able to go and swim and do nice things. But one of the interesting things I learned was that by eating twice a day, you will lose weight. As long as you absolutely don't snack in between meals, which goes along with the theory of intermittent fasting. In other words, one of the theories is that you won't lose weight if you don't burn off your liver glycogen, which is your immediate energy store. And therefore, people who are told you have to have little snacks, that's wrong. You won't lose weight. The people who need little snacks are professional bodybuilders who simply need to have the calories because they're burning them up. And I know you've had immense success with your intermittent fasting.
I mean, I've been doing a ketogenic diet alongside intermittent fasting, actually. So, and in some ways, I went a little bit extreme because it was because I had to lose this weight, and I mean I was eating sometimes only in a 22-hour, in a 2-hour window in a day. So, but the thing is, you can do it over a 16-hour window. And you go into something what's called autophagy, which means that I always thought it was about 22 hours, but I've been having this debate with Theo about it. And actually what happens is when you go into autophagy, the bad cells you have in your body sort of end up sort of starving a lot quicker and dying than the new cells. And what happens is that then you regenerate new cells and you're actually far healthier. It's one of the reasons why my energy levels have probably gone through the roof. But it's autophagy is really sort of the reversal of the anti-aging process in some ways because it produces growth hormones.
Yes, it's growth hormone, that's key.
Do you want to talk a bit about growth hormones on that respect?
Not particularly, it's just the fact that growth hormone actually just makes you regenerate and makes you renew things.
That's right, because the thing is, I know a lot of bodybuilders take growth hormones because they add them in because actually it is it makes them stronger, makes them younger, makes them more better looking, I suppose.
Which counteracts the testosterone that probably ages them.
That's right. Because the thing is, as you get older, in particular, going into autophagy is very good because we do lose a lot of testosterone as well. But you can sort of gain testosterone by eating more citrus type vegetables and things like this, like dark green vegetables.
But also by working out, because muscle produces testosterone.
Yes. But because one thing that I was also saying, actually, and one thing is that you've just put me onto an interesting point because when you start producing growth hormones, you don't lose muscle mass even though you're dieting. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you still exercise as well, because obviously that counteracts so many other things like depression and things like this. And I wonder if it's indicative of where we see children at school in particular, because we were discussing this as well earlier, in terms of there's more people committing suicides. Now there's obviously many different variables and many reasons why that is, and it could be all compounded together. But it could be a healthy diet that the diet that they actually have at school. It could be the diets they have at home. But one of the things I've always said until I'm blue in the face is that we don't teach our children how to handle pressure. And you talked about public schools earlier with me as well. Remember, in terms of their behaviour and their condition. Well, I talked about conditioning.
I'll come back to that in just 1 second. You said something really important. Studies actually have shown that you can build muscle even when you're intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting does not interfere with building muscle, which obviously some people are worried about, which goes along with your, as you say, intermittent fasting produces growth hormone. So back to the school. Because obviously one of the things that is obviously a well-accepted theory is that successful parents tend to produce successful children until I question how you define success. So if making lots of money is a definition of success, then absolutely. But the fact is that in today's society, what you need to reach the top of the ladder is sacrifice, is single-mindedness, is a complete imbalance in lifestyle, and therefore most people who get to the top jobs are highly dysfunctional. And of course, ladies who get to the top jobs are even relatively more dysfunctional because they're having to be even more masculine than what's healthy for them. Therefore, if the idea of a parent who's already sacrificed themselves and probably has quite a dysfunctional family sends their kids to one of these public schools, who then gets streamed in an academic pressure cooker, and therefore with no work-life balance, and gets their 8 GCSEs and all their A stars, and then goes to the universities, all they're been doing is clones of their parents. In other words, unhappy, stressed people with heart disease and all sorts of inflammation and allergies in their body, but with the ability to earn money. Now, that's the unhealthy side of it. The healthy side of it is the fact that these public schools groom you to expect to succeed. And one of the rules in life is that we fulfill our own prophecies. In other words, we rarely get what we deserve, but we almost always get what we expect. We fulfill our prophecies. It's why children who were abused grow up into adults who pick people who continue to abuse them. To the extent, this is so powerful, that if they happen to pick a nice partner, they will misbehave, and if the partner still doesn't abuse them, they will say, "Why aren't you hitting me? Why aren't you abusing me?" They will actually say it.
Yeah, but there's two sides to that actually. But there's two sides of the same coin, which is, and I'm sure many people have heard this before, which is cause and effect. Whatever, so you got the cause and the effect of what that caused and how you deal with it. So you could actually have two women, let's say two twins, hypothetical, and this is very hypothetical. You've got two female twins, and let's say they both got raped, and one of those, and they probably had the same life until that point. Now that one of the women could turn around and says, actually, the cause of it was that I was raped, but because I was raped, the effect of that is I'm choosing that's never going to let that happen to me again, and become far more stronger and far more determined to never let that happen again, and she becomes far more basically stronger and determined in other areas of life. Whereas the other one could very much say, actually, because I was raped, I've become an alcoholic. So that can actually have a very different impact. One same situation can have a very different impact on two people, depending on how it's actually impacted you as well. So there's kids at school. So I know you want to say something. So there's kids at school who aren't taught how to actually handle pressure, and because they can't handle that pressure, they then go into the real world and realise actually it's a little bit more cutthroat than they've been experienced it, because whether it's political correctness or whatever, but we're so busy looking to cover our children in cotton wool and make safe spaces and things like this, that we no longer actually know how to deal with anxiety, deal with stress. And could it be the result that actually that leads to suicide and more depression and things like this?
Well, that's interesting. And of course, those are not the English public schools. So you're now talking about the non-pressure cooker elite schools, who are therefore more bound by political correctness. And in fact, that's an interesting point in itself. In other words, if you don't have to achieve something, you become politically correct instead to justify your existence. And therefore, as you heard, I think at one in Distinguished University, they started jazz clapping. In other words, some students would be too shocked by sudden sound of clapping that they did shadow clapping instead. And as you said as well, instead of big crosses on exam papers, they would actually just put little dots.
I've said that before. When I saw that happen when I was in my daughter's primary school, I was shocked. So actually, I did send a private in the end. It was almost like, you got this right. Here's a dot. There's no cross. Go back and do it again. But the thing is, when you get into the workspace and you start working for yourself and you start working for another company, do you know what? We all learn from our mistakes, and we get that. And in fact, you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes. But if you keep on repeating that same mistake and there's no consequences to the mistakes you make, you'll carry on making them because you've actually almost been conditioned to see that it's okay to keep on making those mistakes rather than actually rectifying them. And sometimes you actually need it to hurt. You need that level of pain to actually hurt because, and I'll give you another example.
You learn from it.
Absolutely. So when my wife's father died, she went into a very, very dark place. And my wife, and I'm not sure I got it right, but it was my philosophy at the time. And my sister-in-law said to me, actually, you need to support Emma and give her a hug. I said, I am supporting her, but by giving her a hug, I'm actually just anchoring that thing. She sometimes needs to hit rock bottom, be able to come back up from the top as well, and she needs to go through that pain. So every time she feels down and things like that, and I give her a hug, and I'm just making her feel better for that instantaneous moment. It's not her being self-reliant in terms of getting herself out of it, even though you're there to pick up the pieces. I mean, I think I learned that when I did neuro-linguistic programming, because you can anchor that in, because then people, you know when people they go negative because they become very demanding of attention and they seek attention, and it's because they actually then crave that very instant gratification of feeling good, but that's not always the best solution.
Of course,
it's always hard as a
the
husband
ideal
to
solution would be to give a hug, and whilst you're hugging, get them to talk about it. But of course, people are not professional therapists, so they won't do that.
I'm not. So you do the best you can with what you know, I suppose. But as I said, and let's go back to the private school thing. It's the thing is, I mean, they are exam passing factories, and how much is enough money? Now I told you earlier there was a research done in the States where I think it was about £150,000 was enough to actually have a good standard of living, where you didn't have the financial burden and things like that, and still had enough of a balance with your family and things like this. Because
the Harvard Happiness Study made it even less, actually, something like $66,000. But
maybe. As I said, I think it was around 150.
Because remember, Americans don't earn that much. Because all the prices are low for them, so 150 is rich.
But also, depending on where you live in certain states, it's also very expensive. I mean, if you look at California, you've got a lot of the middle class who are actually moving out of California and towards the states of Nevada, Arizona.
Maybe it was 150,000 to live a satisfying middle class life. So not necessarily about being happy.
Well, yes, but as opposed to someone who's earning, lots and lots of money, sort of, let's say in the millions each year, and I haven't got a problem with that. But the thing is, people seem to think, as actually they're wealthy and they exploit poor people. There's probably an element of that sometimes, because that's where capitalism goes wrong, it's greed. But these people also work their asses off. They work 80, 90-hour weeks, they're sacrificing their family life to basically earn all this money. So that £150,000 or $150,000 threshold is probably, you can actually build a good life around that if you did it right. Not everyone does, because let's face it, when we talk about relationships and things like that, and you look into divorce, and all of these are interconnected somehow. The wife feels probably a little bit neglected because the husband working all these long hours, or the wife then going or the wife's then going to work as well. Because in London in particular, if you're middle class, you've got to have both partners working because you can't afford it otherwise.
So the wife has an affair with a colleague.
And then what happens to the children? The children don't get the attention because and something we talked earlier was, do you remember when 30 years ago, the shops used to be closed on Sundays, so people used to have this family time. Used to invite friends around for a roast dinner. It was a good time to, people used to look forward to those Sundays and things like this.
Incredibly important. And the Jews have their Sabbath and their synagogue. And remember what we said, that a study in Sardinia showed that the two most important factors in long life, far more important than exercise and diet, are close family, and above that, daily human interaction. Those are the most important things, and that's exactly what's disappearing now. Even if someone goes to rent a room nowadays, it's almost impossible to find a house with a communal living area. everything has been converted into bedrooms. So people are being robbed of